Okay, everybody, this is MTG Critic checking in with you. Um, Probably know me from my work over on MTGPrice.com, the leading MTG finance community. It's possible that you listen to my finance podcast with Travis Allen at MTG Fast Finance, which we publish every week. And I gotta say, I don't really do a lot of video for you guys very often. I'm not really set up for that quite yet. But I came across a pretty interesting collection last week that I thought was a little too visual to handle by article alone. So I wanted to put together just a little overview of this thing that came across my desk. Funny thing is, this week is Fan Expo here up in Toronto, Canada, which is basically like our San Diego Comic-Con, and we handle a big toy booth there, selling action figures and so forth, as a promotional vehicle for my site, shelflife.net, a startup that I'm involved in. And so it's been a pretty busy week, and we just got done the 5 days on site at that event, and I'm crazy tired. But I do have a little bit of energy left to share this collection with you. Now, I don't really handle collections all that often. I'm a pretty busy guy, and I try to keep my MTG finance stuff to 5 to 10 hours a week. It's it's a hobby part of my life, not a business part of my life per se. But a couple years back, I did pick up a really big collection that I referred to as the Super Collection that was worth over 40,000 US. Picked it up for 14,500. Ended up flipping it for just under 25,000 a few months later. And through that experience, I learned a lot about how unwilling in general I am to pursue collections and then process them and price them and piecemeal them out. I just don't have time for that kind of thing. So I don't really pursue collections despite there being a relatively rich vein of collectors moving in and out of the hobby here in Toronto kind of on a regular basis. But I leave most of the Craigslist hunting to some of the other sharks in the area. However, I have a second cousin who had been pinging me for a while that he had a box of Magic cards in his basement. But my antenna wasn't really up on this collection because the guy kind of said when I asked him about it, the first time we talked, he said that he mostly played during what he thought was Ice Age and Fallen Empires. So of course I'm picturing him having a couple of binders full of absolute garbage cards. He also said that at some point somebody had traded him some cards and he thought he might have got ripped off and he thought he might have had some Moxes or something and no longer had them. So I was kind of assuming that this collection was picked over and really wasn't making it a priority. This cousin lives, 3 or 4 hours from me, so just hadn't gotten around to, really following up. But it turns out that this cousin showed up at a family reunion recently and passed the collection to one of my other cousins, who passed it to my dad, who passed it to me when he was breezing through town to see his granddaughter. And just before a couple days before Fan Expo, when we were gearing up for the big conference, he drops off these 3 boxes that are maybe like 3 cubic feet worth of Magic decks and binders and paperwork and stuff. And, I popped one of these boxes open kind of on the fly in between some meetings and just got a huge smile on my face because I could tell right away that this was one of those special collections that doesn't come along all that often. So rather than spoil it too much for you, I'm going to just walk you through what I found, and we'll have a little fun with it. For any of you that are not really into humble brags or into the comparing success portion of the MTG finance community, where we all kind of share how things are going for us, this video may not be for you because it's not going to make you happy. If you are the kind of person, on the other hand, who loves to see good things happen to other people in the community and just likes to have fun, then this is probably your kind of video and you should stick with it. It's probably going to be something like about half an hour to get through all of this, but I think you'll find it's worth your time. So let me just start with this. And excuse the video work, folks, because, really not set up for this, but I'm doing my best. So here's the kind of box we were dealing with. Now, if you process a lot of collections, I think you'll understand that when you see rows upon rows of revised edition deck boxes, these are the old starter decks from the mid-90s. When you see these things in quantity in a collection, your antenna are going to go up. And it wasn't just this box. It was several boxes like this. These are 4th edition starter decks. These are Ice Age starter decks, which are a little less exciting, but nevertheless, these are pretty cool. If you weren't around in the mid-90s, this is where Magic was at the time. We also had things like this dark booster box full of, more revised decks, and really, I could go on about this for a while. There was 50, 60 revised starter decks sitting around in this collection, and hundreds of loose cards, and almost a dozen custom decks, and just piles and piles of stuff to go through. So we also had an original set of deck protector deck sleeves. This is a 100. This is sealed. This is pretty old, and this is the kind of sleeves we used to use back in the day. I've been playing since 94, 95 myself, so a lot of this was pretty nostalgia rich for me. There was also a whole bunch of old Magic paperwork. So you got people bought books like this back in the day, Mastering Magic Cards by George H. Baxter and Larry W. Smith, PhD. These are books that taught you how to play Magic. Pretty funny stuff. Sorry for the poor focus there, but you kind of get the idea. It's a whole lot of text, probably a lot of it erroneous. But there's also some pretty cool magazines. The Duelist was the official magazine of Magic the Gathering back in the day. This is issue number 8. This was, full of cool Magic art and ads for Magic and latest happenings and, top picks from homelands, combos. Check out that Trade Caravan Winter Orb action. At the back, you usually had puzzles by Mark Rosewater, not Richard Garfield. This is where Rosewater kind of took off as a major fixture in the community, was doing all these cool things called the puzzling. This is basically, he still puts these kind of things out every now and again now. So anyway, Duelist number 8. There's also the Duelist Complete Magic the Gathering card list, which I believe, as of this publication, went up to Homelands. This is every card Magic published up till that point, so I think that was about 1996, if I'm not mistaken. And there was also a Magic the Gathering 1995 calendar. Super useful in the year 2017, but full of cool Magic art. You can see the various artworks that were used for the various months. So we have a Lord of Atlantis, a Herloon Minotaur, we have the Suvan Doppelganger, and so on and so forth. Winter Orb. So, lots of cool little paperwork. There was also a whole bunch of this game. This is called Mythos. This was a Cthulhu-based game. There was something like 4,000 or 5,000 Mythos cards. As far as I can tell, they're not worth much these days, so if you're really into this game and you would like them for free, I'm feeling generous and I would be happy to send them your way. Just reach out to me. So, let's jump into why this is a little more interesting than what you've seen so far. Let's start with this stack of revised. This isn't all the revised. This is all the revised worth at least $1. So, just to give you a sampling, multiple mana vaults, fork, birds of paradise, a couple of brain geysers, a couple of fast bonds. We're already doing real well. Hurkyl's Recalls, Winter Orb, Nevernull's Disc, Nether Shadow, whole bunch of Swords to Plowshares. Some Mana Flares, Mind Twists, Bad Moon, whole bunch of Animate Deads, Ivory Tower. Revised Lightning Bolts go for about $2 a piece. Oh, these stickers are, whenever I'm processing a collection, I like to keep track of approximate values for the cards, just so it makes it easier to tally what's going on, and easy reference point later when I decide I'm ready to sell. I can compare to most recent pricing and see, get a sense of where things are headed. When I'm processing specs, I do something a little different. I place the date of purchase on it and what I paid, and I use that as a tracking mechanism to update my spreadsheets. So anyway, tons and tons of revised Lightning Bolts, which are pretty liquid card. Lots and lots of that. Basalt Monolith in multiples, Counterspells, Hypnotic Specters, etc., etc., etc. Lots and lots of the 50-cent, $1, $2, all the stuff from revised that is not quite bulk or is bulk but relatively easy to unload. So that was a decent start with the revised stuff. We're talking something like $200, $225 worth of stuff there. And the deal here was that my second cousin said that he was willing to give this stuff to me for free, that it had just been rotting in his basement. I don't really think he understood the full value of what he was giving up at the time. So I've gotten back in touch with him and said that we're going to be figuring out some kind of profit splitting arrangement as I unload all of this for him, because this is just a little too crazy. For instance, let's take a look at what was in the unlimited pile. So unlimited being slightly different from revised, lower print run, slightly different card set, and the cards are definitely more saturated in general in the colors. It's kind of hard to see because my camera setup is not that great, but colors tend to be a lot richer on unlimited cards, and between that and the rarity, they tend to go for a little more than the revised. So we got an unlimited Counterspell, Black Vice, nice unlimited Lightning Bolt, Dark Rituals. Interestingly, the average condition of the cards in this collection would be something like SP to near mint. There was certainly some MP stuff here and there that had been heavily played, but not much. I mean, a lot of the stuff was in sleeves, original sleeves. I've transferred these now to perfect fits in a lot of cases for my own processing. Here we got some unlimited islands that are pretty nice. A whole bunch of other small ball stuff. And, unlimited forests that are pretty rich in terms of their greens. So anyway, this is all unlimited stuff, and all told, that's worth about $100. Not bad, not bad. Moving right along, we can take a look at the dark pile. So, in terms of money cards in the dark, we found a couple of Eater of the Dead, Felwar Stones, the original printing, Worms of the Earth, Frankenstein's Monster, which I think is no longer $1. I think it went up just the other day. Season of the Witch, also a recent beneficiary of the reserve list spikes. And that was about it for the decent dark stuff. But this is the pile of dark bulk, including hundreds and hundreds of cards from the dark, some in vast quantity. I mean, most of this stuff is 25, 50 cents, $1, but the reality here is that I now have, a good leg up on completing a lot of these old sets because of all of the sweet common bulk that was just lying around in here. So the dark stuff's probably something like $50 or $60 at least. That's being pretty conservative. Not really putting too fine a point on the bulk value yet. Can also move on to showing you some of the Arabian Night stuff that was in here. Arabian Night original curd apes, jeweled bird, desert, and then a bunch of like kind of random small ball common stuff that isn't in very high demand. No big thing. The Arabian Night stuff is, you know, $15, $20, something like that. Antiquities is pretty similar. Present, but not a huge deal. A couple of copies of Martyrs of Corliss, an original Ivory Tower. That's pretty nice. See, I can let you guys zoom in on this, but it takes a little while. Sorry about that. It's a little more exciting if you play Tron and Modern. Urza's Tower, Power Plant, Mine, etc. Various versions from Antiquities. Some of them were sought after. And I'm actually surprised these cards are still so low, given, I mean, they were relatively common in the set, but it's been a long time since they were printed. And I've never had a set of these, so happy to pick these up and throw together a Tron list. Circle Protection Artifacts. Ornithopters. Original printing. Energy Flux. And then a whole bunch of Antiquities bulk. Not quite as much as the dark, but still lots of stuff. And decent start. So there's like all sorts of little cards in there that may be going up sometime in the near future, if not near, then mid-future. And exactly the kind of bulk you want to trip over when you're getting handed random collections for free. Take a look at the Legend stuff. Got an original Whirling Dervish, Gabriel Angelfire, Fallen Angel, Voodoo Doll, Rebirth, original Force Spike, sorry about that focus problem, folks. I have a C920 and it just does not cooperate with the focus. So all sorts of Legends cards. I mean, the Legends bulk is real deep. Talking hundreds of cards, and all in pretty good condition. So again, a real good start on a Legends collection. Just lots. And I mean, a lot of this stuff is 50 cents to $1, some of it's 25, but you know, all told, this Legends stuff is somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 to $100, I would guess, just in that stack alone. So we've covered pretty much everything except the beta, because there was a rich vein of beta, including an original Power Sync, Blue Elemental Blast, bunch of nice beta basics, which are probably primed to take off at some point, if not months, near low number of years. I mean, a lot of people like playing with these old black borders. Some of the art is particularly sweet. Beta mountains are nice. I like this one particularly. Good contrast on the reds and blues there. Some of the swamps. Bunch of beta forests. Beta giant growth. Beta unholy strength. Scrib sprites. Wild growth. Shatter. Disintegrate, Fog, Phantom Monster, Unsummon, Prodigal Sorcerer, Orcish Oriflame, Tranquility, Circle of Protection Black, and then Healing Salve, Merfolk of the Pearl Trident, all sorts of small ball stuff. So I mean, a really good start on a beta set in terms of the smaller items. And that wasn't even it. That was just the stuff I bothered to sleeve up. There's actually a much deeper pool of beta commons, lots and lots of some of them. So all told, that beta is probably worth at least $200, maybe $300. You know, not a bad little collection. But it gets better. We're not done. So there was also pretty big box, maybe 2 boxes actually, of custom decks that this guy made. So, I mean, these are just amazing time capsules of how people were building decks in the early mid-90s when, you know, deck construction theory was in its infancy, and, you know, people like Pat Chapin weren't even on the scene yet. You're talking about like people reading articles on the Dojo message board, looking for, you know, scraps and tidbits of information they could use to, you know, dominate at the kitchen table. So here we have a deck called Smoke Means Progress. Here are some of the finer points. Got some more of these Urza's Lands in there from Antiquities. You've got an original Aladdin's Ring from Arabian Nights. You've got some Pyroblasts from Ice Age, Dragon Engines, Fountain of Youth, Lava Burst, nice Fireball type X-Spell. Some more Urza's Lands. These are from Chronicles. One of the most overprinted sets in Magic's history versus demand at the time. So kind of a turning point, and one of the major reasons that the reserve list ended up in the position that it's in. The Hive, Voodoo Doll, Disintegrate, Shield of the Ages. If you're having trouble tracking the synergies in this deck, that's because there are virtually none. This is, call it a big red deck. It's trying to kill you with X-Spells, and, you know, whatever mana it can cobble together and dump into things like Rocket Launcher. So, you know, all sorts of randomness. This collection went as deep as Alliances. Most of it was Homelands or before. There was some Urza's block cards, and after that it looked like he quit. So that deck was worth about $20. We got this other one called Rigor Mortis. Most important cards here include a revised Demonic Tutor, some Lightning Bolts, a Shivan Dragon, a Mana Flare, a Regrowth, a Terror, and then a whole bunch of red and black randomness mixed in with some mill cards and some green cards. Giant growths on Hypnotic Specters and Juggernauts are where this guy was at. So, not super exciting. A little bit of value there. Now we get into one of the more interesting ones. I think this was called the Ice Queen, but I lost a little paper slip he had wrapped around it. And a lot of these included deck notes, which I won't drag out to embarrass whoever this guy was, but they were hilarious. So this one has Copy Artifact, and Winter Orb, Stasis, a couple counter spells, an Ivory Tower. Now we got an unlimited Winter Orb. That's a nice $40 plus card. Sort of in focus there for you. Unlimited Icy Manipulator. I've wanted one of these for a while now. I used to love Icy back in the day, and there's something about the weird saturation on this unlimited Icy that makes it a keeper for me, so I'll be putting that aside. And then it's nice when cards that have popped relatively recently just randomly show up in these janky decks. This is a Transmute Artifact from Antiquities. in pretty good shape, call it SP. Some revised Howling Mines in this deck. Legends Boomerang, revised Bird of Paradise, Felwar Stone, nice Maze of Ith that I can slap into an ADH deck somewhere. Some more of these Urza's Towers. He loved his Tron lands. He's way ahead of the game in terms of how powerful these were. I mean, this is at a time where Mana Ramp was a little harder to pull together, and proud to say this guy knew what he was doing on building Urza-based decks. So Relic Barrier. Oops, dropped a couple cards there. Relic Barrier, and then a bunch of randomness. Desert Twisters, Black Vice. A vicious card back in the day when you could play 4 of them in a deck, even if you don't have tremendous synergies as we see here. Alright, so that was the Ice Queen. Let me show you Pump Up the Volume. Good movie back in the mid-90s. I don't know if it inspired this deck or what, but we got a Felwar Stone from the Dark, Hammerheim from Legends. Oh, there's a nice dual land, essentially pristine condition. Nice revised Badlands. Finally, the focus snaps into place for you. Strip Mine from Antiquities. Another Mnemonic Tutor. Some Sinkholes from Unlimited. Sinkhole was only printed up until Unlimited. And then again recently, of course, in Eternal Masters, I believe. And then we got some random lands and what have you. This is like a melange of red-black randomness. Incinerates, Agent of Stromgald, Stone Rains, Drain Life's, Soul Burns. You know, that classic all-over-the-map red-black deck of the mid-90s. Pump up the volume. Here we have Creeping Doom, featuring a Antiquities Yawgmoth Demon, Power Leech, Demonic Tutor, Serpent Generators from Legends. Oh, hello. There's a nice Minty Bayou from Revised. A couple more random cards. Of note, there's a poison theme in here, which was a lot harder to do in the mid-90s when you had to use Marsh Vipers and Pit Scorpions to get your poison on. Not sure how effective that was back in the day, but I mean, if everybody was playing randomness like this, then you know you could use your Tawnos wand to get that thing in there and get that poison on. Strip Mine there. Alright, so that was Creeping Doom. This one didn't have a name, but that's fine. We'll just plow through because it's got a fork, some lightning bolts, and oh! A real nice candelabra of Tawnos. I'm sorry that I can't get that focus to work for you. There you go. It's like LP-ish. Anyway, random $400 card in that deck. Got a Mana Flare, Dizzying Gaze, Goblin Balloon Brigade. You know, those cards obviously work together so well. Disintegrates, Bloodlust, Shard Phoenix, Shattering Pulse. This guy loves his fireballs. Big red burn themes throughout a lot of these decks. And the final deck I'll show you, there was several more, but we'll stop here. This one is called the Swarm. Features a Goblin Wizard from the Dark, Goblin King from Revised, some Lightning Bolts, some various Dark Goblins, and then Goblin Grenades, which is actually a pretty deadly card back in the day. Keldon Warlord, also a beater if you had a bunch of little guys. And there's a Relentless Assault there from Visions. You can see a little bit of, maybe he updated it down the road a bit, pulled it off the shelf and made a few changes when that fancy new Vision set came out. Alright, so those are the decks. Now I want to go through and show you some of the other stuff I found just lying around in boxes. So I guess we'll start with the good stuff and go backwards. So let's start hot with a nice minty volcanic island. Let me see if I can lock this focus into place for you guys so we can get the up close and personal thing going. 1 second. There, that looks pretty good. So we got a volcanic island. There's a real nice beta bolt just lying around in this collection. City of Traders. Nice $100 plus card. Got a power artifact in SP condition. Another one in MP condition. There's a King Suleiman. You know, tap to destroy your Freets and Djinns in 93, 94. Nice Savannah and a Scrublands. That one in LP. Going through the basics, I realized I couldn't really ignore any of the black borders because this is a pair of pretty rare Arabian Nights mountains. These go for about 60 a piece. These are in super nice condition. Random Force of Will just lying around. He bought a little bit of Alliances, not too much it looked like. A Word of Command in MP condition. A Wheel of Fortune. An original Triskelion in real nice condition from Antiquities. That one's probably a keeper. 3 more Demonic Tutors in near mint condition. I mean, I think there was almost 14, something like 14 or 15 Demonic Tutors in this collection. An SP, an MP, a Suchi. Look at the color on it, saturation on that thing. Red Elemental Blast from Beta in SP condition. Got a Sinbad from Arabian Nights. Land Tax from 4th edition. Preacher from the Dark. Blood Moon from Chronicles. Mana Vortex from the Dark. Cleansing also from the Dark. Another Goblin Wizard. An Oubliette, LP condition from Arabian Nights. Antiquity Strip Mine. 4th edition Sylvan Library. Nice Beta Island. No Mercy from, or is this Legacy or Destiny? One of the youngest cards in the entire collection, actually. Another Copy Artifact from Revised. Beta Stone Rain. Beta Llanowar Elf. I mean, this is not the kind of stuff you typically expect to find in collections that just roll up on your doorstep. Beta Swamp. More Beta Islands. Beta Fireball. Another Season of the Witch. Haunting Wind. Typhoon. Recently saw some appreciation on the as people have been attacking the older sets. Sinkhole. Another Sinkhole. More Sinkholes. Pair of Chain Lightnings from Legends. There's a Winds of Change. And a Helm of Obedience, often useful in EDH. So as you can see, not doing too badly. By that point, I had figured we were at about 3,000 for this collection. You know, some of the keys, of course, being the Volcanic, the Bayou, the other dual lands, the Candelabra, the Power Artifact, and so forth and so on. Really good starting place, and all sorts of delicious trade bait that will be relatively easy to unload. There was also some loose packs in here. Here we've got 9th edition packs that I'm just going to go ahead and open on camera. See if we can get something something nice out of these. Let's see. Elvish Warrior, Unholy Strength, Holy Strength, Goblin Brigand, Sage Haven, Wood Elves, Reflexes, Haven Flock, Plague Beetle, Rampant Growth, Rootbreaker Worm, Chastise, Baleful Stare, Plains, and a Battle of Wits. Keep meaning to put together a Battle of Wits deck for my collection of decks, and maybe this will be the impetus I needed. So we'll leave that there. Pop another pack of 9th edition. It's funny because this thing says Core Set Advanced, but doesn't say 9th anywhere. You can see that these packs are a little warped. I don't know what exactly got them into that position. I mean, you would think that the packs would be airtight, but you know, maybe not. So, Stone Rain, Haven Fisher, Elvish Warrior, Unholy Strength, Holy Strength again, Goblin Brigand, Haven Cloud Chaser, Razortooth Rats, Natural Spring, Time Ebb, Urgolem's Eye, Dream Prowler, Plains, a Reverse Damage, and a Foil Sarah's Blessing. Creatures you control have Vigilance. It's actually a nice looking foil. That's a Rebecca Guay art. So as I'm going through this, just so you guys know, I'm probably going to be starting a series soon, collecting stories of bad beats and humble brags of various activities in the MTG Finance community. So feel free to share that stuff with me on Twitter or via email at james@shelflife.net, and I'll be happy to include you in the kickoff article in a couple weeks. Got Order of the Sacred Bell, Spineless Thug, Angelic Blessing, Lava Axe, Council of the Sword of Tommy, Elvish Berserker, Crafty Pathmage, Hill Giant, Demystify, Soul Feast, Kraken's Eye, Pyroclasm, Mountain, our rarest Silk Clash Spider, and we've got a foil Bog Imp in the back. Nothing too exciting. If I'm not mistaken, you can get foil Black Border Blood Moon in this set. That would be not bad and on par for the potential that this collection has for coughing up sweetness. Treetop Bracers, Serpent Warrior, Venerable Monk, Goblin Mountaineer, Sleight of Hand, Tree Monkey. You would think the monkeys are generally in trees. Enfeeblement, Giant Growth, Fish Liver Oil, Phyrexian Hulk, Consume Spirit, Enrage, a Plains, and a Disrupting Scepter, and a foil Master Decoy, which is usually pretty excellent in draft. Probably almost certainly is in that format. Oops. Alright, go through this one a little quicker. See what the sweetness is. Versus Power Plant, not bad, not bad. And a Force of Nature. Beta Force of Nature would have been nice. 9th edition, not such a big deal. 2 more packs to go. Blast through this one too. Gift of Estates, Telepathy, Cruel Edict, and a Warped Brushland. That had been a foil Brushland, that would not have been bad at all. Because foils in 7th, 8th, and 9th, I believe, are black bordered. Right? Yeah, all the foils here are black bordered. That's why the 7th foils in particular are beloved of foil hunters. Exhaustion, Nantuko Husk, Anarchist, a Mountain, and Form of the Dragon. Maybe a card you might consider in your new Dragon Tribal EDH deck if you've been fooling around with Commander 2017. So nothing too exciting in our 9th edition packs, but that's okay. I will forgive this collection for that particular transgression. Seeing as how it had also coughed up a whole bunch of other randomness. So here's some other cool stuff we found. This is just quick takes. German Lightning Bolt. That one is going straight into my personal collection. Some Rainbow Veils. Hercule's Recall, Howling Mine, Lightning Bolts from 4th edition, Urza's Bauble, Pox, some Swords to Plowshares from Ice Age, Thawing Glaciers from Alliances, pair of Elvish Spirit Guides, and a Merchant Scroll from Homelands, Carpulsan Forest, Frantic Searches, Muscle Slivers, Tinkers, Brainstorms from Ice Age, Snaps, this is a Pauper card. So is Cloud of Fairies, if I recall correctly. So, I mean, all sorts of little small ball goodies throughout this thing. Crop rotations. Bunch of Urza's rares. Very few foils, if any, in this collection. Definitely one of the stranger things I noticed was it was bereft of foils completely. I'm not sure if it was because most of the sets didn't have foils, other than Urza's, and you didn't buy much of that. That seems the most likely explanation. Or they were misplaced, or they were in a binder that got lost, or somebody stole them, or whatever. But there wasn't a single foil from Urza's Legacy or Destiny. I forget which one it was that kicked foils off. There was none in Saga, and then I think Legacy and Destiny had foils. Concordant Crossroads. And so the bulk goes really deep. We could spend another hour on this, but I think you get the idea. And I hope you guys had a good time going through that with me. I thank you for your time. If you're going to pull a random collection, make it one that has a Candelabra of Tawnos just sitting there waiting for you. That's MTG Critic signing off for at MTGPrice.com, and give a listen to our Fast Finance podcast this week. I'm going to be off surfing this week, but Travis and Cliff should be holding down the fort. So hopefully we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Take care and have fun.